to another episode of E&Ftv's Bridging the Gap. And today I'm joined by Andrea Forbes, revenue expert from the holiday let industry. Andrea, good morning. How are you?
Morning, I'm great, thank you. Excited for today. Just wondered what kind of questions I'm going to get asked, so we'll see how we get on.
You're referring to the quickfire five-question round, are
Yes,
you?
I am. I am. I'm slightly nervous. I could talk about me and my experience, but I don't know how I'm going to answer these questions. So hit me.
You should be, because I don't know what's in my brain today, but they've got a little
Okay.
bit crazy this morning. I love this because it just enables people to get to know you a little bit, which is obviously pivotal, isn't it, for
Yeah.
the success of the chat. So let's get straight into it then
Okay.
with quick fire round, five questions. Question number one: what's your superpower?
Um, I think probably my ability to build relationships. I just love talking to people. And I will get all sorts out of people just because I enjoy a conversation. So I would say that, and I would say that's probably what my friends and my family would say. Yeah, definitely. If someone we want to find something out about someone, then I'm the person to do it. I just chat. So here we are today. I'm quite happy chatting.
And that's not standard for. Sometimes you find that revenue management professionals can be quite introverted, less so these days when they're expected to be a little bit more extrovert. But I think from talking to you, and we've talked a little bit, you've got that kind of commercial blend of brilliant revenue skills, but also that kind of easygoingness that comes more with a sales position.
Definitely. But then with revenue management, it involves change, and you have to get people on the journey. And with my experience, I have had to influence people to think and work in a different way. So it's important
Yeah.
to build those relationships. So it served me very well in my career. So yeah, it has been very, very useful.
This is not going to be quick fire with you and I rabbiting on, is it?
No, no.
By any stretch of the imagination, we're both talkers. Question number two, where would you go if you were invisible?
Oh, blimey, flipping heck. Where would I go if I was invisible? House of Commons.
Yeah.
Oh,
When I
I'd love to
was
know what
when I
goes on, but then I'd be frustrated.
You would, I think you
Yeah.
would, but it's funny because when I wrote that question, I thought similar, like along political lines, because
Mm,
you get fed so much flannel by
mm,
politicians. It'd be
mm.
really interesting to see. And there was a program, wasn't it? It was fictitious some years ago. I can't remember what it was, but it was like behind the scenes in kind of like a political environment. It kind of, yeah, it got me thinking about that. So we're along similar
Mm.
lines there.
Yeah,
Number three, would you rather be 2 hours early or 20 minutes late?
2 hours early. Although it doesn't always happen. But yeah, I think I would. It's awful being late. The feeling is just horrendous, and also you can get also done for speeding. So yeah, it's not a good look.
It's that feeling of having let people down, whereas I think
Oh,
if
rude,
you're
bad manners. Ugh.
yeah,
What were you going to say?
exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly that. No, just exactly that. I'd prefer definitely to be 2 hours early because it's just better to be early than late at the end of the day.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, would you rather be a whale or a lion?
Oh, a lion, definitely.
Okay, interesting. Why?
They're in charge of the jungle, aren't they?
Yeah,
Leaders.
revered,
Um, yeah, yeah.
powerful.
No question. Yeah, no question about that. Actually, yeah. Although I do love the sea, but no, definitely a lion. Definitely.
I just think something about being in the sea. It's peaceful, it's serene. You can swim about. You're the king of the sea, like the lion's the king of the jungle.
True, but I also think I'm actually my star sign is Leo, so Leo's a lion. So I think
Sounds
that
to
was my
reason.
path.
Sounds to reason. Okay, what did you have for tea last night?
What did I have? Oh, spaghetti bolognese. Yeah.
Brilliant. Is that a staple in your house?
Well, it was because I went to Pilates and I had to leave my husband in charge of the dinner, so I pre-cooked it, and all he had to do was heat it up. That's why. Normally, it's
Oh,
something a bit
brilliant.
more exciting.
You're such a good wife.
Yeah, I try. I try. Well, I'm not working at the moment, so yeah, I need to be cooking.
So brilliant. That's the end of the quickfire five question round. You got out of it unscathed. There
I
was some
did.
zany
Ish.
stuff in there. You answered well, and it's just enabled people to get to know you a little bit. So, and continuing in that vein, tell us about your career so far.
Right. Okay. So, well, I'll try and not spend too long on this. So always been interested in travel and tourism. So didn't want to do A levels. Went to college, did a travel and tourism course. Decided that I didn't want to go to university. Did about 8 months in Thomas Cook on the local high street, which I loved. But then I decided I wanted to go to university because I still wanted to learn more,
Yeah.
and it wasn't enough what I learned in the travel agency. So yeah, went off to university. Couldn't go on a travel and tourism course because there wasn't any at the time. So I just did a business degree. Um, at the same time, I had kept in contact with my old lecturers from college, and they asked me to go back and lecture on the old course that I was on. So while I was
Brilliant.
at university, I was lecturing also part time on in my spare time on my old course, my old college course, which was great. So I enjoyed that, and that made me realise that I didn't want to be a lecturer, or I didn't want to be a lecturer for a long time. So that was a bit of an insight, a bit different. Also, when I was at college, on a this yeah before university on a dreary night, we were just leaving and we were told there was some quiz going on and would we come back in the evening and do this quiz, and everyone said no, and I thought, oh, God, it was February or something, it was dark and horrible, and I just thought, well, no one else is going to do it, I'll do it. And then three other of my classmates, they said yes. Anyway, it turns out it was a travel trade gazette quiz, and the prize was to uh, go on a trip to Florida, an all expenses paid trip. So we got through two rounds and we ended up in the final, and the final was in Florida. So that was an interesting
Wow.
thing. Yeah, and that was literally something that I just thought, I can't really bother to do it, but I can't let the college down. And so I ended up doing that. So all those little bits of things, um, I did because I just thought, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. And also made me want to stay in travel and tourism. So fast forward, leaving university, I definitely want some kind of job in travel. Researched all the tour operators in the northwest where I live. Um, no internet, had to do it with the Yellow Pages. So not many people will know about the Yellow Pages, but that's how I did it. And I identified a few, looked out for jobs, and I saw a job as a pricing assistant at Cresta Holidays based in Altrincham. So applied for the job, got it. And after 2 years, my boss left. I applied for his job, got his job, and then I grew the team from 4 people to 30 within about 7 years. So
Wow.
we were pricing all the holidays. So we were packaging up all the holidays with transport, whether it be um, flights, Eurostar, Eurotunnel, car hire, fly drive. Packaged them all up with transfers, hotels, our catering, and then the team was also responsible for inputting all the contract rates as well. So years ago, the contracts would come in with agreed contract rates, and you would have to load those for hotels and transfers and airlines. So yeah, so I did that for just under 10 years in the end, and then I decided I wanted to go into something new, a bit of a buzzword that people were talking about at the time, and that was revenue management. So, moving from pricing to revenue management, I went to work for a hotel chain, so a chain called Village Hotels, which was part of De Beer. Had to convince the person interviewing me to give me the job because the other cluster revenue managers had all got over 10 years experience each, and I had no revenue management experience, just pricing experience, but convinced him, and I did that for about 8 years. So cluster revenue manager, looking after about 7 hotels, and it was brilliant because I learned so much. And then that took me to setting up a revenue management function at Sykes Holiday Cottages 10 years ago. So yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. At Sykes, there was no revenue management. There was just fixed prices and about 12 prices over a calendar year. So it was, and there was brochures as well where the prices were featured in brochures. So it was a lot of work, and it was fun, and yeah, absolutely brilliant, massive learning curve. So you'll probably want to ask me lots about that.
I will do. Yeah, but firstly, just I'm just picking up on a thread of what something that you said. It appears to me that throughout your career, from being, pre-university, you've kind of grabbed onto opportunities and said yes to a couple of things there early in your career that have kind of shaped what you've become today. How important has that been for your progression?
Massive, because I mean I didn't even mention with the university, I had to influence them to let me on the course because the course had been going for a couple of years, and I wanted to move from another university, and they were saying, "Oh no, it won't work," and I just said, "Look, I'll make it work. I will." Um, and I did, and so I sort of pioneered that, and then once they realised it worked with me, then they let other people on sort of midway through the course. So I think it's just if you think the door's shut, then just try and open it because you never know where it's going to get you, and that's what I love. It's exciting looking for opportunities, and that's what I've always done, and I've always just thinking, right, okay, let's just be open minded and see where it takes you. So if anyone's watching this, just and is not sure about what path to take, any opportunity, just grab it. And even if you think there is an opportunity, go and explore it because there could be one, and that's what I found.
And I think at that age of leaving university, you're young enough to take different paths, find out that it's not right for you, pivot and go a different way, or maybe
Absolutely.
morph into something
Yeah,
else. Yeah.
yeah. Someone once said to me that you know, you, the things that you fail at are more important than the things that you do well at because you learn so much more from failing. So some
Yeah.
things don't work, but that's fine. You just learn from it and brush yourself off and you move on. So definitely just
Yeah.
try it out.
So it always reminds me of I've heard on a podcast once that I think it's Amazon that have or maybe Google. I think it is Amazon actually that have a failure manager that it's just their job to test things, fail, tweak it slightly, try again, fail. It sounds a really depressing job title, doesn't it? It's probably not called a failure manager, but I love that because it's like if we're not failing, we're not finding out what doesn't work, and we'll never find out what does work. And I think that applies in your career as well. It's certainly in the early days where let's gamble, especially if you've not got a mortgage or dependents.
Mortgage,
Let's try things, see what works, and that's certainly
definitely.
what you've kind of done
Yeah.
throughout your career.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. Obviously, I've been thinking about it ahead of this because obviously, we knew I was going to talk about it, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm proud of what I've done. But I'm excited to know what's in the future as well. So yeah, um,
I'm really interested to learn how, because you obviously started at sites and then you kind of grew that and almost implemented revenue management into that setting, into that industry.
I did.
Before that, you touched on it, but I presume it was almost seasonal pricing. There was an off season, a winter, and then there was a summer pricing, and it was all catalog based maybe. And after April, the price went up. Was it really that simplistic prior
Yeah,
to you coming
yeah,
on
it
board?
was.
And how
Yeah.
did you change that?
Oh, with some sleepless nights. No, it was just ripe for opportunity. I mean, there was a calendar, a 12-month calendar, and there would be a letter attributed to a period of the year. It was A to I, and I think D spat was was from um, just after Easter through to the end of June. So, and that period over 2 months, it was just the same price. So, of course, when I arrived and saw it, and then started delving into um, the performance, it's no surprise that the percentage occupancy in that last week of June, that was essentially very, very cheap. In some regions, the occupancy was about 95%. I remember looking at Northumberland, I think Norfolk, 95% occupancy because it was too cheap. So there was so much opportunity. So yeah, one of the first things we did was get rid of the brochures so that we didn't have to print the prices anymore. But yeah, there was so much opportunity, and
What
so
year
much
was that, if you
change.
don't mind me asking?
I started in 2014, but the company was just going through a sale and being bought by a private equity house. So for the first year, 18 months, we didn't really make any changes because we didn't want the
Yeah.
new buyers to think that we were crazy with making lots of changes. So we had to go steady. And I remember saying to the MD at the time that he was clipping my wings and I wasn't happy. So I had to be patient.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was once we started to make changes, then we carried on and it gathered momentum. But I think what you might ask me, and I'll tell you now, but the difference between hotel revenue management and holiday lettings is actually very, very different. And I don't think I realised how hard it would be to make the changes because in hotels, certainly the chain that I worked for, um, we owned a hotel, so you could do whatever you wanted with price. You could set base prices at whatever, and you could fluctuate them up and down dependent on demand, however you wanted. So, as an example, if there was a big Champions League game, like Liverpool game, and I had a hotel in looking after a hotel in Liverpool, up until the day or the day before, I could have astronomical prices, and that would be fine. And if there was a few rooms left empty, then that's okay. But you can't do that with holiday lettings because essentially, particularly at Sykes and with other big businesses, the holiday lets are owned by private owners,
Yeah.
and you can't play around and just leave their properties empty by testing price. So
Yeah.
it's very much a two-sided market. You've got the owners of the properties, and they have a vision of what they want to charge, and then you have customers, and they know what they want to pay, and quite often the two just don't meet. So it's
Mm.
about influencing the property owner to go with the suggestions that we put forward, whereby the customers will actually buy at the right price. So yeah, it's and Sykes being the first sort of traditional holiday letting business that introduced revenue management, the owners were just incredulous. It was they just couldn't get their heads around it. And as much as we'd
Yeah.
say, if you book a train ticket, the price fluctuates up and down, or if you book a flight, they just struggled to understand it, a lot of them. So it took a long time to get the right message across, and and once they agreed to it, then it took time for them to see the benefit and to trust as well. So it was such a journey, but a, a very worthwhile one,
Yeah.
and yeah, challenging, but a massive learning curve as well. So brilliant, a great experience. Team grew
Do,
as well, brilliant. Was.
do you think that's why the holiday industry was so slow to adopt revenue management? Because of the
Yeah.
reasons you've just said with the owners, and basically you've got kind of like a bit of a legacy where it wasn't a thing because hotels have been, working revenue management for
Oh,
quite a
years.
while.
Yeah, yeah. It's because a lot of holiday let companies like Sykes, they start off because they have been set up by an owner, so they're very owner friendly, and they put out prices that owners want, and customers aren't, traditionally haven't really been considered that much. Also, again, when I started in 2014, the demand in the business was really just weekly stays with the odd short break. But with the emergence at the time of Booking.com, and then a few years later, Airbnb, and customers then could see that actually they could go and stay for 2 nights or 3 nights somewhere, then again, there had to be a lot of change in the holiday let industry to keep up with those platforms.
Mm.
So yeah, there's been an awful lot of change in the holiday let industry, but Sykes was the first one to do it, a traditional holiday let agency. So yeah, the owners they were lucky because they benefited, but not all of them necessarily felt it at the time. And there's many reasons for it. They have their costs, and they're so passionate about their properties and all the time and effort that
Yeah.
they've put into it that if you suggest a price to them, so they think it's an absolute insult sometimes. But
Yeah.
the properties can sit empty, and then they're not gonna get bookings. And now, recently, with regulation, particularly in Wales, so in Wales, a property owner has to get, I think it's 192 days sold in a calendar year. And if they don't, then they have to pay something like a 300% increase on the council tax. So they're massively
Wow.
taxed if they've got a holiday let and it isn't full for a certain amount of the year. So those ones, they've
Okay.
come a bit more round to the pricing that is
Yeah.
put forward and suggested. Yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah. Talk us through the role that tech played in all that, because going from brochures to, I presume, some kind of RMS at some point. Just talk us through that kind of journey.
Um, well, That's what we did. We wondered if we could buy something off the shelf, and I'd got experience working with ideas. And even though ideas was a great system for hotels, it was still quite challenging at times. So with my experience, I didn't think that we'd be able to find anything again back in 2006, 15, 16 that would really be fit for purpose. So um, we enlisted the help of Simon Kutcher and Partners. So they're a world leading pricing revenue management specialist. So we did a project with them for 6 months. And they helped us to essentially build our own revenue management system. And that has evolved over the years and continues to evolve. There's at least one person that works on that full time and just improving it constantly. Um, so the way that we had to approach it, again, the comparison between hotels and holiday lets is very different. So in a hotel, you might have a hotel with 150 bedrooms, and there might be 4 room types. So that's quite easy to revenue manage because it's all similar. But each holiday let, or majority of holiday lets, are different. So you're trying to revenue manage, and you're trying to look at history, and you're trying to predict the future, but you've got to do a comparison. So what we had to do was we had to create revenue management groups and put properties in each group so we could look at the performance and make recommendations moving forward. So um, there was at the time when we set it all up, there was a huge sort of like project team on it, including tech, to build a system. And as I say, to keep moving forward and keep evolving it, with the revenue management team feeding in new things that we needed, like greater revenue management, more groups. Also, through COVID, we realised that what we needed was we needed something that they have that is set up in ideas in the hotel revenue management system, which is different settings essentially when there is more demand. So, for example, with the idea system, if there's a special event, you can tell it that there's a special event and there's going to be a bigger increase in demand. So, what we did after COVID, because we didn't have it through COVID, because there was a huge increase for holiday lets, we built something. So we called it kind of like gears, so that you could, if we could then tell the system if something has gone on and there is high demand, then we can shove it up a gear type thing. So that's just an example of something that we introduced into the in-house system. And it's still evolving now. So yeah, lots and lots of work, but very rewarding seeing it in practice and seeing the benefits as well. The increase in revenue was just phenomenal, which again, that made the owners very happy. it was just hard for them initially to get the head round working in a different way.
There are far more attributes, aren't there, to holiday lets versus hotels. I mean, hotels
Mm,
generally have four, five, six different room categories,
mm,
and a double room is the same as a double room is the same as a
mm,
twin, albeit with different beds. But I've always found it interesting that you could segment really forever with holiday lets. I mean, one's
mm.
south facing, one's mountain view, just even more subtle kind of differences. They're all so unique that where do you stop with the segmentation there? Must have been a real task to put them all into categories.
It was, and they're never going to be exactly like for like. But also, you need to have a big enough group so that you can get some trends going as well. So we would never share what group a property was in to an owner
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then they would say, well, I've got better bathrooms and and so that we would always say to the people on the phone to the owners, do not tell them what group they're in because that will start all
Yeah.
sorts of conversations then. So
Can
yeah,
imagine.
yeah, you need a certain size group to be able to do anything. So yeah, sometimes yeah, they wouldn't be as like for like as we'd wanted, but you'd need a certain sample size.
It's obvious to me when you talk about I suppose the owners and that initial kind of pushback from, adopting this evil
Mm.
world of revenue management which was
Mm,
for their benefit and your benefit. It's obvious to
mm,
me that you thrived in that kind of environment because of your personality, because of your
mm.
stakeholder management skills. What kind of other skills would you say? What skills would you need as a revenue manager in a holiday like that will be different from a revenue manager in like in a cluster position with hotels?
Um, I didn't expect that question, but that's fine. Um, I can tell you generally what a revenue manager needs, what type of skills, but everybody knows that, of course. So I would say the difference would be you need more flexibility in your mind. And this is what I used to say to anyone that coming into anyone new coming into the Sykes business. The Sykes business grew a lot, and anybody knew whether they were in revenue management, marketing, or anywhere else, any other department. I would always say to them, just be really open, be flexible, because this is fast moving, and a lot of it is new, and you've just got to be open to change. So definitely to be flexible in terms of the way you work because we would sometimes be on a path thinking right we're going to do something in a certain way and you'd get so far down the line again because it was all new and you'd think actually this isn't going to work but you have to leave your pride at the door and just go actually this ain't working we're going to have to change it. So I think flexibility is key and some people did struggle with that. So you just got to be flexible and open to change, and just you're on a journey, and you just got to just ride it really. So I think that's definitely one thing. I think again, I suppose yeah, being just being a good communicator again, because in
Yeah.
hotels, yes, you have to be a good communicator, but it's just so established, isn't it? Hotel
Yeah.
revenue
Yeah.
management. And okay, it's still evolving, but with holiday lets, again, there's still a lot of things that are new. And I think it's good to communicate it's good to communicate your ideas and also to listen. Obviously, listening is really important, but also to be curious. Now, what I mean by that is if someone tells you something, then politely question it. And I had to do a lot of that because when I first arrived into the business, or I would ask, oh, how do we do this? What do we do? And I would have to sort of gently say, oh, why do we do it that way? Oh, we always have done, and it's because so and so wants us to do it that way. Ah, and so you have to sort of gently, peel back the
Yeah.
layers. Do you think that's the best thing for the owner? How do you think we could do it differently? So I think being curious is important, and also being quite tenacious. And I really had to be tenacious. And if anyone watches this that used to work with me, they will 100% say that because a lot of the times I would be told no, and I would think, oh, I still think this is something we should try. So yeah, again, because it's new. If you're in an environment where it's new and there's lots of opportunity, you've got to be tenacious. Just try and just nudge something forward. Try it. If it doesn't work, try something different. So it's again, it's it's good to fail
Yeah.
because you learn. So yeah, so that's what I'd say. That's the difference. You've got to be quite creative as well because you've got a blank piece of paper and it's like which way do you go? So yeah, you can
Same
tell how
applies
much
to
I loved it.
students as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it radiates from you, yeah, when you talk. But I certainly someone starting off in the career, like they are really key attributes, aren't they? Key skills,
Mm, mm,
tenacity, curiosity, ability to challenge the status quo in a polite way
mm.
with those personal relationship management skills. Nobody likes anyone that goes in and says, "This is wrong. We should be doing it this way." But actually, you can, as you describe it, peeling away the layers of an onion,
Mm.
or as I would describe it, poking the bear just gently a little bit
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
better.
yeah. But what you do first is you build trust, and you do that by being interested in people, interested in what they do. You build their
Yeah,
trust, and then that's when you sort of start to question things and maybe suggest a different way of doing something. So I remember when I started at Sykes, and a couple of people, well, a lot. It wasn't clear to everybody why what I was there to do because they had all been there so long that they would have probably not been very happy at all. So I was put into a tech team and stealthily learning around the business, and even a couple of people, quite senior people, were very much, why are you here? What are you here to do? It was tough, but it all worked out fine in the end. But sometimes people are naturally um, cautious and wary, and they were,
yeah.
which was
No
a
one likes
shame, really.
change.
Yeah, well, yeah, flipping heck. But yeah, just be kind and be respectful, and try and build trust with people, and empathy as well. Empathy is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. Loads of soft skills there, I think, for
Mm,
people that are watching to kind of have a little think about and how they could kind of go away and develop those, certainly if you're at the start of your career, because
mm,
they've obviously been so pivotal and so crucial for you in your career
mm.
and personal development. So what's next now for Andrea?
Well, it's quite exciting, really. So I've had a few months off, which has been brilliant. It's the first time I've ever done it in my career, and my career's been quite substantial now. It's been going for quite a while. So yes, I've had some time off, which has been brilliant. So I've recharged my batteries, and now I'm looking for something else. So I think, all right, well, okay. So I've tried travel agent. I've done tour operating for 10 years, hotels about 8 years, holiday letting for about 10 years. Now I'd love to do holiday letting again, I think, because I've got so much experience, and obviously it's been recent experience. So I'd be more than happy to get to find something again in the holiday letting space. But if not, there's things that I'm looking at. So I think airports are exciting. The different revenue opportunities there. So whether it's landing charges, retail, the lounges, the car parks, that's exciting. I think just retail in general, it's not something that I've ever done. Um, so I'm just kind of just literally this week starting to look around and thinking about what do I want to do next. So if anyone's watching and they want to chat to me, then I'll be more than happy to talk to them. So yeah, I'm just excited for the new chapter, really. And talking to you today, it's great just to think about what I have done and share my experience with people that are watching this. So yeah, just be like me and open to opportunity and change, and yeah, and just enjoy it. I've just loved what I've done, and you can tell I really have. So
Okay.
I'm excited about the future, next chapter.
Brilliant. So if anyone watching, any students want to get in touch with you, well, students to ask you advice or anyone to offer you your next exciting commercial leadership position, I presume what's the best way to do that? I presume maybe LinkedIn or
Yeah, just LinkedIn, Andrea Forbes. I'm there. So yeah, please do actually, because I love to, as you know, I love to chat. So yeah, it'd be great to hear from a few people. More than happy to talk to anybody. Honestly, I really am. So yeah.
Brilliant. Andrea, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. See you soon.
See you soon. And that's all we've got time for this week. Like and share the show because it helps us attract really, really cool guests like Andrea. See you next week.
Here we go!